Well, traveling is different because now you are compensated for your weekly stipends, your meals and incidentals, and you get your hourly. So not only is it tax-free money and tax money, so all that combined, I started earning about.
Clinical lab scientists. What are they? How much schooling do they need? How much do they make? Can you support a family with an income of a clinical lab scientist? In this video, we're going to be speaking with Ellie, a clinical lab scientist that has watched our nurses to riches the road to fire, and he thought he had something in common with the nurses I've interviewed. So we're going to be talking with Ellie about his career, his income, his expenses, and everything else in between. Let's get right to it. Ellie, let us know where you're from and what it is that you do for a living.
Hi, my name is Ellie. I am from California. I'm actually currently a CLS traveler in California, and I've been a CLS for the past 5 years, and for the past 2 years, I've been traveling as a CLS.
Great. And why did you decide to become a CLS?
So back in undergrad school, I was studying and I took a lot of science courses, and I really liked anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and chemistry. And so I tried to figure out what can I do with all these courses? Do I just get a regular bio degree or do I get a chemistry degree? So as I was kind of researching, I figured out that I can use all those courses into a degree called clinical lab science. And so I decided to go to school and get my bachelor's degree in medical laboratory sciences.
And how long did that take approximately?
It's a 4-year degree. It's basically it's a BS MLS. So it's a bachelor's degree in medical lab sciences.
So, out of all of the degrees you could have gotten, why CLS though? You could have gone so many different
Yeah,
ways.
that's true. What really encouraged me was the fact that I can make a huge difference when it comes to these results. These results play a major role in patient care. 70% of the decisions that doctors use is by these lab results. So if a patient needs a transfusion, or if a patient needs specific medication because their PTTs are kind of like out of the window, so we play a major role in patient care. Even though you don't see us, we're kind of like what is called the basement, or like all those lab people, but we play a major role in the patient care.
So, are you guys helping with the diagnosis of a particular disease? How exactly do you guys function with the doctors?
So depending on the symptoms, right, the symptoms of the patient and what they're feeling, the doctor starts ordering all these lab tests. And so depending on those lab tests, we go ahead, the nurses or the LVNs go ahead and draw that blood. And so that blood is taken down to the laboratory, and whether it's a CBC or a PTT or a D dimer, depending on those results, we give them back to the doctor. Then he goes ahead and figures out what's next for the patient.
Okay, so you guys send these lab results to the doctors, and then the doctors are the ones that are making the decision as to what the diagnosis is?
Correct. So let's say a patient comes in because they're either dehydrated or they're feeling fatigued. Maybe they're low on blood glucose, or maybe they're like 600, who knows? So once you take that CMP and they see that the glucose levels are either high or low, then they can treat the patient.
Gotcha. So you guys aren't like lab techs where you're drawing labs on patients. You're not the phlebotomist. You're the ones that are actually running the lab tests in the lab so you can get the results from those test tubes.
Correct. Yeah, we do just instrument work. We deal with the blood bank, chemistry, hematology, microbiology. All your like MIC numbers, for like antibiotics come from us. The people who draw the blood are the phlebotomists. We can be phlebotomists as well, but we have so much work that we can't go out and draw blood. So we're staying behind and we're just focused on giving the doctor other results.
And what type of settings do you guys typically work in? Is it inpatient hospital setting, or are you guys outpatient?
So there's outpatient settings, inpatient settings. You can work for, have you heard of Moffitt Cancer Center? You can work for the Moffitt Cancer Center. You can work for
Really?
hospitals. Yeah. You can work for SeaWorld,
Wow.
SeaWorld. Yeah, for the animals. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole array of different avenues that CLS can take. You can also work for IT. Like, are you familiar with the list systems?
Yeah. Yeah.
Different Cerner, Epic,
Yeah.
all systems. We also use it as well to try to send you guys the results, right? So if you're a really IT person and you like that stuff, you can apply to these electronic medical health records and be an IT, or you can work as a field engineer. You don't have to be an engineer, but basically what those people do is they come in. If there's an instrument that has issues, they go ahead and work on those instruments. And what better person to do it is us, because we're working with instruments as well.
Dude, I had no idea you guys could work at SeaWorld. How does that work?
Well, there is a friend of mine who I had in Florida, and she's working at SeaWorld. And the only way I know that is because in her LinkedIn, she updated her job posting. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So she's basically testing animal blood, and they're doing research on that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You can probably work at Disney as well. There's just so many things. I know when COVID was high in 2020, there were job openings or these crisis rates or CLSs to go do COVID testing because they needed
Wow.
us to make all those PCR testings. Yeah.
That's really interesting because you can't have a nurse become a vet nurse, like a veterinarian. It just can't happen. But it seems like it's pretty cool because you guys have a wide variety of areas you can work in, and it
Yes.
doesn't have to be just humans.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in the lab either.
Yeah.
I've met a few people who have become CLSs and wanted to be nurses. I've met CLSs who are now in the education department in the hospital. So instead of being we call it the bench work. So when you're working in a lab, it's bench. Basically you're sitting down in your own spot and you're doing your stuff, right? So you can get out of bench work and be involved with the hospital or facilities education department and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot.
So how did you land your first job? Did your school help you get that job, or did you apply after you graduated and you just looked for jobs on your own?
Yeah, so back in 2017, I went to school in Michigan, and that school has affiliations with different hospitals. And you can rank where you want to go, and I chose that I wanted to go to Florida, so I got matched in Florida, and I did my rotations there. And after my rotations, which was about 5 months, I applied to different hospitals in that state. And after taking my boards in California, and this is a national boards, it's called the ASCP, Boards of Certification. And you can basically take your boards anywhere in the country. I decided to take it in California because that's my home state. That's where I'm from. So I just went back, I studied for like a month, and then I took it. But because I applied in Florida, I wanted to work there. I got the job, and I just told them, can you wait for like a month? I'm applying for the state license in order for me to practice. Yeah. I got an email saying that I was going to get an interview at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I got the job. And I told them, hey, listen, I don't have my state license. Is it okay if you can wait? And they say, yeah, sure. So they waited a good month, and I started working October of 2017. So this month is literally 5 years of being a CLS.
So every time you want to practice in a different state, do you need to get a license in every state that you want to practice in?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are different states that require licensure. I think right now there's only 11 states. And one of my videos in my YouTube channel, I talk about that. I think it's Hawaii, California, New York, Florida, Texas. But you basically apply through the health department of that state, and you can just follow their requirements and submit the requirements they ask for. And then once you're approved and once you pay that fee, then you can get your license.
So if you were to practice in any of those other states, not including California, New York, Texas, whatever, do you still need to get another license in these other states, or can you use your current license to work there?
So I don't know on top of my head which states don't require state license, but as long as you have your boards certification, like that you passed your boards exam, your ASCP, then you're good to go. Like I was mentioning, there's about 11 states out of the 50 that like really require you to have a state license to practice in that state.
Gotcha. And why did you decide to move to Florida out of all the states that you could choose?
Well, because my clinical rotation was in Florida, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty much settled here. I know the area pretty well. So let me just apply. And I applied at St. Petersburg, Florida. And it was just an easy transition, honestly, because I did my clinicals in Daytona, Daytona Beach. And so Daytona Beach from St. Petersburg is about like 2 hours and a half. So it wasn't a big transition. Instead of going from like across the country, right? All those extra expenses. So it was really easy and convenient for me to stay in California for that time.
Makes sense. So are you still in Florida at this time, or are you somewhere else right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. During the pandemic in 2020, I moved over to California, not as a permanent CLS, but as a traveler.
Oh,
So yeah. So during the time that I was working in Florida, I hopped over from the Children's Hospital to molecular diagnostics. And what that department does is that they do DNA testing to see what type of cancer the patient has. So I don't know if you're familiar with like HER2, JAK2, B and T cells, all these different type of cancers. The
yeah.
pathologist wants to know what they are. So what we do, the medical technologists, is that in this specific department, which is called molecular diagnostics, we basically filter DNA, RNA, and then in about maybe 10 days, we know exactly the cancer marker. So then that way the oncologist can start treating the patient with the correct medication for that patient, depending on the cancer. So once I was in that department in Orlando, I said, you know what? I have so much debt. I need to get rid of this. This is weighing me down. And at the time, I was volunteering in a ministry called SALT. And this is where I met a nurse, and she used to travel. And I was talking to her about like my situation. She's like, hey, you should look into traveling. They'll compensate you more because you're far away from your tax home. And so I said, all right, cool. So I looked into it. And in 2 months, I went across the country and I came back to Cali as a
Man,
CLS.
the fact that they have traveling positions for anybody in healthcare is amazing to me because LVNs can travel, CNAs can travel, clinical lab scientists can travel. I mean, doctors can travel. It's just, you name it. That's pretty cool. So, how much were you making in Florida that you decided, well, you know what? I'm probably not making enough to pay off all of my loans. So, I'm just going to take a traveling gig.
Yeah, that's a good question. My first year as a newbie, right? When you start as a newbie,
Yeah.
I worked night shifts, and the hospital that I applied to had a competitive pay rate. And so at that time, they were giving me about $22 an hour. Now, this is Florida. Remember, this is Florida.
Yeah,
Florida
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Actually, dude, that's actually what nurses are making in Florida. So
yeah.
that's pretty competitive.
Just a side note, when I told that to another nurse, she's like,
Yeah,
"You're making the same as me?" Like,
yeah,
she was blown away. But
yeah.
I started making like about 22 an hour. And because I did night shift, my night differential was very competitive. It was about 485 in
Wow. Yeah,
2017. You gotta remember this is 5
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah,
So as a newbie, anything is good. You
yeah.
say,
That's true.
taking it. Where's the paper? Let me sign it. You know, what's cooking?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I took the job and I was working night shifts. Boom, boom. I got my check, biweekly checks, and I was like, all right, cool. So I can only pay the statement balance on my loans. And I
Yeah,
had credit card loan, I had a private student loan, I had Sally Mae,
mm,
which I'm glad I broke up with,
yeah,
and I had federal loans. And so it was just so hard on me. So as months went on, I said, yo, this is gonna take me like 15 years to pay off
yeah.
$75,000. And this was like ridiculous. So I had to make a
Wait,
change.
it was 75,000, not 45,000?
Well, the total is 75. Everything included is 75,000 in debt. And this is including credit card, private
Yeah.
loan, car
Wow.
loan, and a student loan. So I told myself something needs to change. So about a year and a half later of working there, I said, I'm going to get another job. I'm going to work days because I'm feeling miserable. And CLSs don't work like RNs. Like, I love your guys' schedule. It's like 312 or 410s, which is
Yeah,
amazing. We do
yeah.
5/8s, and that's hard.
Uh, yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I was tired and I said, let me just move. And so I moved and I got a different hourly rate. So that was like the ballpark of how much I got paid. So a year it was probably like $50,000.
Per year. And
Yeah.
that was in Florida. So then when you went to travel, how much were you earning?
Well, traveling is different because now you are compensated for your weekly stipends, your meals and incidentals, and you get your hourly. So not only is it tax-free money and tax money, so all that combined, I started earning about 2,300 every single week. And
Wow.
this is when I said, okay, game's on. We're gonna start paying off this credit card. We're gonna start paying off this Sally Mae. Let's break up with this person. Like
Yeah.
that's when life changed.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, when I was in New York, I was making about 2,300 every 2 weeks in New York City as a
Wow.
nurse, right? Yeah.
Right. So that was me
So
every week.
so you
Yes.
were able to like definitely just tackle your student loans quickly with that much money coming in every week.
Yes. And
Okay.
that's what gave me the like I felt so much weight on my shoulders.
Oh
And
yeah.
once I got that credit card loan paid off, I was like, oh, that feels good. I was like, all right, let's break it with Sally Mae. All right, boom. I'll
Yeah.
go with Sally Mae. And then it's like, all right, let's get this private student loan out of the way. Boom. And let's get this car loan. And it's just so much weight came off my shoulders. I felt like I can fly.
So how long did it take you to pay all of that off?
10 months.
Okay, so you paid off a total of how much in 10 months?
So from the 75 that I
Yeah.
have or had, I paid off 45,000 in 10 months.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Are you still in California?
I'm still in California, and I'm currently, my wife is on a travel contract, so I got her into that.
So
Uh,
is she also a clinical lab scientist?
she is a speech therapist.
Ah,
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
So wait, so they have traveling gigs for speech therapists also?
Yes. And she's not working at a facility. She's working for a school district. So there's
Oh,
different options. You don't have to work in a hospital. You don't have to
yeah.
work, you know. So, I mean, right now we're still in California and we're loving it. She's loving it. And she's like, wow, this is great. I love my job. I love the people I work with. So it's not only about the money, but also
Yeah.
about the community in your job. Like the people you work with make a huge difference. And,
Yeah.
thank God for the past 2 years, I've had really good experiences at these facilities I've been a traveler in.
Now, when you're traveling, do you have to have a residence over 50 miles away from where you're working? Because I know that's something that nurses have to deal with.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it can get a little tricky. Basically, what this means is a tax home. What is a tax home? So let's say you're a permanent employee, right? And you've been working for 5 years.
Yeah.
That address that you file with the IRS is called a tax home. It's your economic home. It's where
Yeah.
all the money is coming in. So within your experience, if you decide to travel, then you have to be away, depending on the agency, you have to be away 50 miles or 51 miles from that tax home to be eligible to have tax-free money. But the IRS it's not true that you have to be 50 miles. What is true is that you can't commute back to your tax home. It means you have to sleep away if you're in a tax home. So it doesn't have to be 50, it doesn't have to be 52. It's just that you are far enough away that you can't commute back and you got to stay and duplicate your expenses and pay somewhere else to stay that night. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's basically how it works. Because I know it can get confusing, but just to break it down, that's how it works.
So where is your tax home as it stands?
Right now, my tax home is Loma Linda, California.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, but are you paying rent or a mortgage in two different locations or just one location?
Right. So what I do is called fair market value, right? So I live with my sister and her husband. It's a
Yeah.
big home. It's about 3 bedrooms, 2 baths and a half. And so I pay her a fair market value. Doesn't mean I pay the whole mortgage, but I pay
Yeah.
what it would cost me to rent a room and like have a shared kitchen. So in her eyes and in my eyes, that looks like what, $700, $800 a month.
Yes.
Oh, cool. That's fine.
Okay, so now let's break down the expenses, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, how much are you guys spending overall? Like, list the categories of your rent, your utility bills, any car payments, car insurance, food, etc. I want you to break that down for us, and then we're going to break down how much you're earning and how much you have left over.
Okay, that's a good question. I actually had to use a calculator too, because so my wife and I are leasing, and the lease is about $2,000 a month. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're gonna be here for like 9 months. So
Yeah.
The amount she is receiving every single week is like $3,500 a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. So she's making $3,500 a week as a speech therapist?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I know. I know it's in the 3,000s. I
Yeah.
think it's 32 or 33. I gotta ask her, but I know it's in the 3,000s.
Regardless.
Yeah, regardless. So let's just say 200 plus, right?
Yeah.
So if you do the math, 3,200 times 4, that's already 12,800 that month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, do it like this. I want you to do 3,200, multiply it by 52.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. And then divide it by 12.
166.
Wow. That's how much she's making per year.
Yeah.
Now divide that by 12.
By the way, this is already taxed money.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like blown away right now. Okay. Now divide that by 12.
So divide this by 12.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
$13,866 in take-home pay per month.
Yeah. Correct. So now
Wow.
just subtract our monthly rent, which is
Yes.
$2,000, right?
Yes.
So you're still left with a good chunk. Yeah,
11,600. Yeah.
right. So after that, you actually have to consider any credit card payments, right?
Yeah.
You have to consider. We have pets, so we have to take
Yeah.
that into consideration. Food expenses can range between 200 to 400
Yeah.
a month. Now we're trying to be as frugal as possible and do meal prepping. So meal prepping can definitely help us lower that expense down.
Okay. So the 13,666 that you're making per month, is that combined or is that just hers?
That's just her.
So where does your income come in?
I currently am not working. I'm
Okay.
dedicating my time to creating a mini course
Yeah.
for my channel and for other CLS travelers. But
Wow.
before we got into this, we talked about it if it would make sense for her to
Yeah.
only work for now, and it
Mhm.
totally does. So I
Yeah.
actually am excited to take another contract in the beginning of next year. I'm going to be really excited for that. Yeah.
I gotta say, you're in a position that I wish I were in because you know how many times I tell myself, man, if I could just not work and focus on growing this brand, we
Yeah.
could expedite our retirement.
Yeah.
It's hard to do because I'm the one that, even though I only work 20 hours a week, I'm the one that's responsible for our health insurance, dental insurance, and all our other benefits. Because my wife, she works per diem, so she doesn't have any benefits, right? So they all get their benefits through me.
Gotcha.
And yeah.
Now,
But
I
yeah,
did forget to mention we have our own private insurance. We don't take agencies or anything like
yeah,
that, just because we feel that at the end of the day, we feel like we're a free agent, right? We can hop
true.
around and we're still covered regardless if we're not working. My bill is pretty high. I'm trying to get it as low as possible to make sure I qualify for HSA, and I'm pretty sure you know about that. You know,
Yeah.
behind HSAs is to pretty much invest in that account and not take it out till you're like 60 or something like that.
For sure.
Yeah, so
So,
that's really our goal.
so how many hours a week is your wife working?
40 hours a week.
Oh, okay. Wow. And she's making 13,600 a month. Dude, I am just like blown away. I cannot believe it. Speech therapy, right?
Yeah, speech therapy.
Wow.
I was making, I think she's making more than me because I was doing about 11 grand.
You know, combined, you guys would have been making 20, at least 24,000 a month take home.
Yeah, that's right.
That's more than what me and my wife bring home. But you know, at the same time, I mean, I'm only working 20 hours a week. I choose not to work that much. If I do pick up extra hours, you know, there's been times my wife and I, we brought like $39,000
That's
home.
nice.
But yeah, you know, it requires work though. But man, okay, so she's bringing in $13,666 a month. Your expenses amount to what? Let's say maybe around $4,000 a month. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable considering the rent, considering health insurance that we pay. So on the top of my head, I don't know the numbers, but I can definitely do it right now. Yeah, about 3K. That's only health insurance for both of us.
Yeah.
Rent. That's not including food and gas. So
Yeah.
between 3 to 4K is correct. Yeah,
So you guys still have at least anywhere from 8,600 to maybe $9,600 left over every
correct.
month,
Yeah,
at least.
and we're doing our best to obviously save it, invest it,
Yeah.
and obviously look for any accounts that give you a high APY because
Yeah.
those big banks don't do a good job with that.
Yeah. Right now, I have a Wealthfront account and I also have an Ally account. I usually just transfer money into our Ally account. I think it's the most reliable one that we've used so far. So we just continue to use it. It's pretty quick to transfer money into it and out of it. And that's what I prefer. And it's also just online only. So like you can't just go to a bank ATM and try to take out money. So the fact, again, this is like, I'm just amazed by this story because the fact that you're able to live off of one income and you guys are earning about $13,600 a month. You guys are earning more than what some of the nurses I've interviewed are earning, you know, because I spoke with Ivan. He's one of the nurses that's an informatics nurse. He was working on his own. His wife was not back to work yet. She's an OR nurse, but he was making around $12,000, $13,000 a month as well. And, you know, I mean, that's a nursing income. You would think it'd be a lot higher. However, his cost of living in that area, because he's in Fresno, is not as high as other parts of California.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So why did you actually decide to pay off all of your loans so quickly? Some people did, they spend decades trying to pay off their loans. You just paid everything off, like $45,000 in the last 10 months.
Yeah, a big factor is for me, a big factor has been mindset and trying to more than double my income. Like if I wasn't able to double my income, this would have still taken me years, you know. But what I did was I put a mindset and said, there's something more, there's something I can do to get this out. And the reason why I wanted to do it because I felt like I had so much weight on my shoulders. No one wants to be in credit card debt. The APR for that is like 20%, even probably 24. So that motivated me to pay off my debt for credit cards. My private student loan was about 11%, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I basically I knocked it out by looking at the highest interest debt and, went down that way. The last one was my car loan, which was at 4.6% interest rate. And I knocked that one out, which was like 15 grand. I did pay a little bit of my federal loans, but we'll see if they can knock it out, with this new administration. The debt. So I did pay about 14 grand towards it. And if I do qualify, I hope to get 14 grand back because they're actually going to relieve, I don't know if you know, but they're doing this student loan forgiveness thing. So if I qualify, I'll get $14,000 back.
Yeah. Although, based on your income, we got to look into that. Because if you're above the income limit, you might not.
When you do your tax returns, they only look at your tax money.
Yeah.
So, which is maybe half of that.
Yeah.
So I probably will qualify.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Monica and I, we ended up paying off all our student loans last year. So unfortunately, we won't benefit from the federal loan forgiveness.
Oh man. Congratulations. Sure, that's good.
Yeah, thanks. So, okay, now you quit your job, right? Your wife is working and you're focused on growing your income. You want to grow it in a different way. How exactly do you plan to grow it?
My income?
Your income.
Oh, because I'm not working. Well, I'm
exactly.
What I'm really focused on is basically growing my community for CLS travelers through YouTube and giving them information. My channel is called Traveler's Blueprint because I'm basically giving you the blueprint on how to be a successful CLS traveler. And there's a lot of people that don't know how to negotiate or how to talk to these recruiters or what are the red flags. So that's where my energy is going towards. And I hope that by building courses or helping these people having one-on-one consultations can bring in another stream of income. Who knows for how long, but that's pretty much the goal.
And how much time are you actually dedicating towards this right now?
So every day I try to dedicate about 4 hours. And what that includes is filming myself, editing myself, reaching out to people to interview them about their different job titles. Because like I was mentioning earlier in the video, you don't just work in the lab, you can do so many other things. And so I want my CLS followers, whoever subscribes to my channel, to know that there's more than just traveling or more than just working on the bench. You can do a lot of different things. So it's like, oh, let me try that. Maybe I'm tired of working at the facility. I want to go try to do something else. So there was an interview I just did with a couple who paid off $200,000 in under 2 years. And they're both CLS. They both have RV. They're like full time to this. Like they've dedicated themselves to this. They bought an RV. They're both traveling, and they're like, you can only imagine how much they're bringing home. That interview took me 2 days to edit.
So if people want to reach you, how would they go about doing that?
You can look me up on YouTube. It's called Traveler's Blueprint. And what I do is basically I dedicate my time to teaching CLS personnel about traveling and giving them strategies, tips, and understanding how to be a successful CLS traveler. And I do weekly videos and publish those. And I also interview other travelers who have a lot of experience traveling as well.
Cool. And that's Traveler's Blueprint, right?
Traveler's Blueprint. Well, thanks for your time. Honestly, I appreciate it. And it's all about networking, and whether we're different professions or not, I think we can learn from each other. So that's what I really love. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for this video. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more guests like Ellie, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and leave us a comment below. Also, if you want to watch our Road to Fire series, then make sure you click on this video here.